I have the rare opportunity to do something that I love for a living, and I would never want to take that away from them.
Yeah.
Also, this company is like built off passion, and I think that if someone's forced to be here, that you could tell.
Yep.
Everybody here at the brand right now loves being here, and I'm so grateful for that. And I hope that people get that when they come in, or when they buy something online, or when they email info and ask a question. Like any of those avenues that you're connecting with us, I hope that you get that.
Yeah.
And that's important to us. I don't want that to ever feel differently.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Inside Hilton's Head, where I get to spend moments like this, not just in my head, in my home. Because if you're watching this, I'm not actually in my sunroom in Baltimore. I'm actually in New York. I am visiting one of my really, really good friends who is part or co-founder, owner of the amazing brand 3sixteen. Andrew Chen, thank you so much for being here with me today.
It's an honor.
I mean, it's my honor. It's really my honor. And the funny thing is, us sitting here like this is so strange to me because, like you were bringing up earlier, is a complete 180 from where or how we met. Now, I'm not sure, I can't recall this. Andrew, did we meet just hanging out and then you hired me to do something?
I have a picture.
Dude, we got to put that in.
I have a picture. I have a picture because I think the night that we met, you were actually here in New York.
Okay.
And it was maybe a fundraising event for the short film.
Yes.
You were starting to put together?
Yes.
You were there. The homie Norm was there. Yes. I had no hair back then.
Yes, I remember this.
We were drinking Red Stripe. I only remember all these details because I have the photo.
Okay.
But that's when we met. And yeah, I don't know. You just had this very, very good energy about you. And we met again through the homie Ryan. For
sure. And it was awesome. You know what? Look, I'm gonna try.
Last run.
One last run. That was after that.
What was the one that?
So I was fundraising for One Last Run. That would have been around 2012.
Okay.
So when I was out here in 2008, 2007 ish.
That sounds right.
If it was for a film, it would have probably it couldn't have been for a film. I don't know what I was out here for. But yeah, I don't know exactly what I was in town, but maybe that was it. I want to talk. I want to know. Well, this whole podcast is for us to sit and for me to know a little bit more about you, because what's in my idea of in my head, things that I'm thinking about when I think about 3sixteen. This is your 21st year. Mm-hmm. One, congratulations.
Thank you.
That is almost an impossible feat for a brand like yourselves to.
It could vote now, right?
Yeah. It can totally do things out in the world, which is amazing.
No. It could drink. It could drink. It was
Your
able to
baby
vote a couple
3 years ago.
Yeah.
But this was your first child. You and Johan came together to make this child. I think out of the one thing that was always in the back of my head, or the things I was thinking about when it came to this brand, was when I met you in 2008. You all seemed like you were fully all the way in. Mm-hmm. Now I know that the brand started in 2004. Before 2004, before you, like, the two of you came together and said, let's start 3sixteen. What were you both doing individually? Or had you already been working on other side projects together?
No, I had a day job. I was in IT.
Really?
Yeah, I graduated from college. I took the first job that
What'd you graduate with? What was your major?
Economics and public policy.
Okay, you're using that right now?
I am using it now. I was not using it then.
Got it.
And I took a job. It was a good job, and pretty early on, I realized that this was just a paycheck. It was not something that I was interested in, excited about, or engaged in, and so this became a passion project that I worked on nights, weekends.
What year is this? 04?
No, this is 03.
03.
This is 03.
Is it 316? Is
Yes.
it called 316?
Yeah. So this is, I've started to realize how incredibly fortunate we are to have hit on the first thing that we did. It's nearly impossible.
For
like
sure.
the failure rate of any brand or any company, any small business, is very high. Johan and I met through his oldest sister, Karis. Sorry, I don't want to dox people. His oldest sister married my best friend from college.
Got it.
And as soon as we met, I think it might have been bachelor party or something like that. When we had met, he was in high school.
Okay.
Yeah, he was a lot younger than his older sister.
Got it.
And we linked immediately because I think he had on a Drunken Monkey shirt, which is a very deep cut. But I asked him right away where he got that shirt, and he said, "Oh, I bought it from True, which is a legendary streetwear shop out in San Francisco." Of course, I knew the store.
Yeah.
These are things where, I don't know, if you're out at a club and you hear the DJ throw a super deep cut on, you know that you relate in a certain way.
It's that Step Brothers situation. We were like, did we just become best friends? Is that how you were? Is this what it felt like?
Yeah, no, it was really, I liken it a lot to music, right? If you can connect on that wavelength, there's very likely other things that you're going to be into as well.
Of course.
We started chatting, and when the idea for 3sixteen came about, I reached out to him right away.
The idea. So that idea was where it first initiated in your head, or?
Yeah, I just wanted to make T-shirts, and I wanted to start a brand that was similar to a lot of these like really small, self-funded, underground. I know that like maybe has a different connotation now, but these were all low-key streetwear brands that were not, Echo or academics, like not something that you would find in the mall.
For sure.
They would be carried in shops in New York City and LA. The internet was still very young. Yeah. So you weren't shopping online very much. You were discovering things in person.
Yep.
And so these brands were all started by artists and designers, and they were just making stuff they were really passionate about. And it wasn't like big logo driven stuff. There was a message to it. There was, people would communicate their favorite films, or they would talk about, politics through these graphic tees.
Of course.
Johan was into the same thing. So from day one, he was involved. And
was he always West Coast and you East Coast?
Yeah, the entire history of our company has been run on opposite coasts.
Wow.
Which is also...
I would say that must be
also crazy.
How? Because relationships, like actual relationships, don't work that well.
Yeah.
You've made it work for 20 plus years.
Yeah, and I think that, there've definitely been things that we've had to work through together, like who hasn't, but in many ways, him being on the West Coast and me being on the East Coast has allowed us to really silo and hone in on what we're good at.
Yeah.
And there just naturally has to be some level of trust.
Of course.
And so with that trust, I really don't need to ask. Sometimes I'll tell him what I'm working on because I just want to let him know. Mm-hmm. But if I didn't, he knows that things are getting done.
For sure.
This is just, over time with consistency, with, being there and showing up and doing the things that you're supposed to do. Yeah. People trust each other, and we've been really fortunate to be able to make it work. And I don't know, maybe if we were in the same office for 20 years, we would not be able to stand being around each other. I don't know.
But who knows?
Right.
But hey, that didn't happen, and we know how it's working so far, which has been great. Now, when I first met you in 2008, I was told that this was a streetwear brand.
Right.
But there was a sense that there were two different things going on. Mm-hmm. Because I'm wearing a shirt from Night Vision, which seems streetwear to me.
I wish everybody out there could have seen my reaction to you coming out of the dressing room with that T-shirt on. Because that is a trip.
This is like when I received this shirt and others. One of my favorite Nas lines is "Sleep is the cousin of death." Mm-hmm. I lived my life for such a long time with that as one of the things that I thought was so like, I gotta live by these words. But I felt like there were two separate brands in some sort of way. You had Night Vision, you had 3sixteen, and I had an idea of what streetwear looked like and felt like, and that's what night vision felt like.
Right.
But then 316 had a elegance to it. It was more luxury. Was there a moment where this shift happened?
Yeah. So for that era of the brand, Johan and I were working together with a graphic designer named Jeff Hamada, based in Vancouver. Extremely talented, and our vision was to create a subline called Night Vision, which would allow us to get a little bit crazier with colors, with graphics, and be that side of expression for us.
Yeah.
He also was really into filmmaking, so we were making. Well, that's where this comes from, right? You only know this if you're into film.
Loved it.
Right
away. I was like, can I have that one?
And we were making little documentary style videos of people that we were friends with, whose stories we wanted to tell.
Yeah.
One of them was with Mr. J, who from the Percussions, who we just discovered. You know very well too.
We do. We basically discovered that we were in the same room in Chicago in 2004
at a concert.
Yeah,
and we never met.
It took us 4 years later to meet.
But we did a couple other really cool ones. We did one with DJ Clark Kent.
Oh wow,
that one was special.
Okay.
He told a lot of stories, but one of the stories he told us was the time that he introduced Jay to Biggie.
Whoa.
Which was like I had chills when he was telling the story. It was crazy. And we also were supposed to, and we shelved Night Vision.
But why? But why? I mean, there's.
I want to make sure, because I know you have a lot of different, listeners, and I want to make sure that I talk about stuff that's interesting.
This is deep, dude. This is not. It's not about. Here's how I'll put it. There's some that, because you earlier spoke about the plant side. There's a lot of people who are heavy into Hilton for the design side. But then I had a guy who worked with me at the plant shop, but now I'll pull him in on certain jobs. His name's Nigel. Plant dude, heavy into plants. Loves 316.
That's cool.
But I would have never looked at him and thought, this is a 316 guy. He's like, you got that from 316. I'm like, how'd you even know? There's no label that shows that.
The crossover may not be huge, but there is crossover. And I've just started to realize that when you're into certain things, there is a potential for
sure.
Right? Because I'll see it. I have friends outside of work, personal friends, who are liking your posts. I'm like, oh, shoot.
There it is.
They're really into Hilton's plant work.
There it is. So I want you to express yourself. I want to talk. I want to look. This is Inside Hilton's. I don't know.
It's my podcast.
It's my podcast. It's my startup. They don't want to. But the people who I want to listen to this, and I want to pull something from this, are people who are creatives, who are deciding. Let's say even right now, they want to start something, a brand of some sort. I started a brand 5 years ago. You started a brand 21 years ago, and you are still going very strong in New York City.
Yeah.
Which is amazing.
Which is crazy.
And I know that there's a lot of information, a lot of things that a lot of individuals can pull from this conversation. Jewels that you can put out there.
I get it now. We'll put it out there and we'll see what happens.
Let's do it.
All right, so let's set the stage a little bit.
Yes,
so
please.
When Night Vision came around, the impetus for it was because we were really trying to protect the brand image of 316 heavily. So
what was that image?
Well, we wanted to sell to top tier stores.
Got it.
Right? And this is at a time when the economy is booming, streetwear is growing. The power started to transfer from all these big corporate-owned mall brand, urban brands.
Yep.
And the attention was starting to come towards small self-started brands. And in turn, what started out with like 5 good stores in the US that would carry these type of brands started exploding. Big cities all got a streetwear boutique or 2. And then smaller suburbs started, getting streetwear boutiques.
Yeah.
And it was getting to be a lot.
Yeah.
And what we saw was that there were 2 things. When Johan and I were talking to Jeff, we wanted to keep the aesthetic and the look of 316 a little bit more reserved. Okay. And we wanted to shape it and grow it into a place where we could have a full collection, shirts, jackets, pants, that were a little bit more elevated.
Yeah.
At the time, I guess we would call it a little more grown up.
For sure.
Than what a lot of other streetwear brands were doing. At the same time, we didn't want to turn down all of these stores that were coming to us and saying, like, we want 3sixteen.
Got it.
We wanted to be able to service them and show them a different side of our creativity without diluting the way that 3sixteen looked like.
I get that.
And so we talked to Jeff and we're like, can we create another brand that has the same passion and the energy, but we can be a little bit more free, right? We can design graphics that a lot of brands were designing graphics that matched like new SBs that were coming out. That was just what you did.
Yeah.
Because you wanted your t-shirt to match your shoes,
it
match your fit, whatever.
Of course.
And so we felt more free to do that with Night Vision. And there was probably 2 or 3 years where the distribution was really strong.
Okay.
And then 3sixteen, we felt more freedom to pull it back and keep it looking a certain way, more reserved colors.
Yeah.
We did a lot of like blacks and grays and things like that. We didn't hardly ever put like we did earlier on. We had some like neon colors and we started taking that out of our graphics.
Yeah.
And in 2008, we launched our first full head to toe men's collection.
So 2008. So that was around the time where we first met, and there was these two sides. Now, when it comes to 2008, I've heard you say this is where Japanese denim came into play.
Yes.
And you also decided that you aren't a clothing company, but a denim company.
We didn't decide that until a few years later, and I'll kind of walk you through that. But when 2008 came around, here's what happened. We brought our collection to trade shows.
Okay.
And all of these stores that were buying a lot of t-shirts from us, Night Vision and 3sixteen t-shirts from us, they looked at the collection and they were like, okay, how much is that shirt? And we designed a flannel shirt called the Crosscut Flannel. And I believe it was going to retail for $150. Now, your average streetwear brand is probably making a flannel that retails for $90, $100.
Yeah.
And we couldn't do that because we wanted to use materials and we wanted, details on the shirt that would not allow you to reach a $100 price point.
Of course.
And so most of them said, I like it. I just can't sell that to my customer. There were 2 or 3 stores that rolled the dice and said, we believe in the vision. We're going to try it. And I will always remember them and be thankful for that. But we lost a lot of retailers. Then at the same time, a major economic downturn hit, right?
Yep.
That was the recession of our lifetime thus far.
Yeah.
And it was really bad. Stores started closing all over the place. We had retailers that bought tens of thousands of dollars from us and didn't pay us for it.
Yeah.
So we're in the hole. We've lost the potential to sell to, new stores. And we were selling to over 100 stores down to like 20, maybe less than 20.
Jeez.
It was legitimately a bloodbath. And when I speak of it now, you don't really know the impact of it. You forget.
Of course.
Like, if you broke your arm 10 years ago, you're like, oh yeah, it hurt, but I don't, I don't remember how much it hurt. It was scary. It was really scary. We moved forward and we just, I don't know. We definitely had to dig out money wherever we could.
Yeah.
At some point I tapped into my 401k and
I get it.
Unwise. It was a bet on our future.
For sure, man. You believed in this baby and you wanted to see it pass. I guess at this point it's 5th year.
Yeah.
You wanted to see it grow 6th year.
Yeah. And what had happened was, as part of that collection, we designed our first pair of raw denim. Raw denim. Dark, indigo, crunchy fabric that isn't washed or distressed. It is just sometimes stiff as a board.
Why would you want that? Why was that such a thing? Like, cause that
entire direction I credit to Johan. He was friends with, and obviously still is, but he became friends with Kia Babzani, who actually owned a store that carried streetwear 316.
Oh, okay.
But he opened up a new store around that time called Self Edge in San Francisco, which brought in all these brands from Japan that focused on making denim the way that America used to make it.
Okay.
You know, in the 50s and the 60s.
Yeah.
It was almost like going into a museum. You're seeing all these garments that look like they should be vintage.
Yeah.
But all of the fabric is new. And
this is in Japan or in Self Edge?
So he went to Japan for years to talk to these brands to bring them over because they've been doing it for a long time.
Okay.
He finally opens the store. Johan goes. He falls in love with what is happening there.
Yeah.
He buys a pair of samurai jeans for over $300 back then, which was insane to me.
Of course.
You know, and he's telling me about it. And he's like, when we make jeans, we have to make raw denim. And I said, okay.
But had you put your body in a pair of raw denim jeans?
I mean, like when I was younger, I had like Levi's or whatever.
Of course.
And then after that, a year or two into that, I went and I bought a pair. I went down to Mercer Street to the APC store, and I bought a pair of APC jeans. And I went through the entire process of the staff telling me, like, you got to cram into these. Like, they have to be so tight, you know, and you're going to have to stretch them out. And yeah, it was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
It was extremely uncomfortable. But the idea behind raw denim is the fact that in the 50s and the 60s, when it was a workwear fabric, they didn't distress it. They didn't lighten it for you. You bought it one way, and it was meant for hard labor.
For sure.
Right? And it was meant for longevity, which is why you have all those like rivets on the pockets and stuff. They're all at points of failure so that you can have them reinforced.
Got it.
That's not decorative. That's meant to strengthen the jean.
For sure.
And you would work in it, and when you needed to wash it, you would wash it, and the color would naturally come off the jean.
Yeah.
Right? And now, when jeans became more of a fashion item, that's when brands learned to start distressing them.
Got it.
And they would sand them down, and they would bleach them, and they would do all these things to where when you walk into a store today and you see a light colored pair of jeans, no jean starts off that way.
Got it.
When the fabric comes off of the loom, it's always raw and dark.
Of course.
And then you have to do things to it in order to bring it there. So what we saw here was a jean that was kind of in its purest form.
Yeah.
You know, one that wasn't tainted or changed or given a look or a story to it.
Yeah.
You actually could do it yourself and kind of impart your own lifestyle, like the way that you move, right? Where your leg bends, that's where the indigo is going to fade. If you keep your keys in your pocket over here, the indigo is going to come off from the friction.
Yep.
And so there was just something very attractive about that. It felt like a very honest product. But it wasn't our entire brand's focus. We just made that. And Kia actually gave us a lot of guidance as we were designing that first jean.
Okay.
You know, Johan would ask him, like, what do you think we should do with our first jean? And he really helped steer us along.
For sure.
We finished the sample and we show it to him and we're like, hey, do you want to carry this at Self Edge? He's like, no.
Damn,
it was always a long shot, but
sure.
it was different, right? He had all these top tier Japanese brands that were for years, sometimes decades, making American style vintage jeans.
Yeah.
But new at a very high level. And then you had us trying to figure out how to make jeans.
Yeah.
And also we weren't trying to play at that level. I think our first pair of jeans were $175. Still a lot of money.
Yeah, of course.
Still a lot of money, but also not $300.
Yeah.
And so Kia was like, I don't know that it would make sense. It's an American brand, just getting started. What does it have in common with everything else I have in the store?
Yeah.
No problem. We made jeans. We sold them. They did all right.
Did you ever go to Japan to learn any of the things that they were doing?
No. We bought fabric. We bought Japanese fabric.
Okay.
And we partnered with a factory in LA to make it. And this is the story that happened with a lot of the garments that we learned to make over the years. We didn't go to fashion school. You know, we didn't learn any of this stuff in a traditional sense. We credit almost all of our knowledge, at least initially, to production managers. To people who either worked at the factory or were the go-between between a brand and the factory.
For sure.
That helped guide you. And we would visit and we would look and we would learn and we would try to understand the steps there. It's kind of like on-the-job training, right?
Of
like
course.
you could go to school to study plants.
Yep. You could.
Or you could just go sweep in a
thing.
shop. You could sweep in a shop and you can listen and you can, you know, absorb.
Yeah.
And that was our education.
I love that. I think the idea that you made that jump to raw denim at that time, because many weren't aware of raw denim at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Not as it wasn't as widespread or wide known as it began. I guess it begun to be around. It felt like 2013, 2012 to me.
Yeah, that's when
sense.
like the whole menswear era boom happened. Right?
Exactly. And I remember going, why did I just buy these jeans that just dyed my seats in my car? Why did I just do this? But I remember the whole, like, the process of, or hearing all the processes of how you needed to wash them. Like, I needed to get in the tub with my jeans. And I was like,
somebody lied to you.
well, yeah, I was like, why would I do? I never did it, but I was like, why would I do all these things? But I just thought, like the idea that you want to have this article of clothing that kind of tells a history of your movement through life with them. I think that's just beautiful.
Johan said this once, and I think about it often. It's just like most things in life, when you buy it, it's just never going to look as good as the day that you bought it.
Oh, for sure.
Right? Everything just kind of ages and gets a little beat up, and you could call it patina or whatever. But most things, they just kind of live out their life cycle. Jeans are one of the few things, and I would argue most of the clothing that we make, beyond the jeans, but particularly the jeans, these are things that will look better the more that you use them.
I love that.
And you also grow an attachment to it because you put work into it.
Yeah, of course.
And so, this is something that really resonated for us. I think that became, over time, what really helped define what we as a company stood for and what we make. We want to make things that stylistically can hold value over time.
Of course.
And also just longevity-wise can be with you for a long time.
Yes. And that's where I will come back to the whole idea of like consistency. And we'll be right back after a break from our sponsor. Balancing work and life can be really stressful, and finding ways to work through the stress is always a goal of mine. Of course, the process of nurturing plants helps me to slow down, take a breath, and bring in joy. But unfortunately, my plants aren't licensed therapists with expert advice. Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or you're just a human who lives in this world who is going through a hard time, therapy can give you the tools to approach your life in a very different way. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link in my description. It's betterhelp.com/Hilton. Clicking this link helps to support this channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. Starting this podcast was supposed to be a little extra therapy for me, getting the ideas in my head out. Good to know I can always use BetterHelp just in case Molly can't help me. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/Hilton. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this channel. Now, back to the show. So, Andrew, I've been wearing your clothes since you first gave them to me. Since 2008. But I will say, I've been able to consistently wear them for the last 16 years without going, this doesn't fit the vibe of what's going on right now. There has been consistency, I will say, with the brand itself since 2008, as far as like you were saying, how you stuck to particular color palettes, looks maybe in some sort of way. Can you explain to us a bit more about your design process. How do you go about being inspired, and what is inspiring you to come out with a particular line for all of these different seasons that you're kind of forced to put new out there?
I mean, I do want to keep it a buck. I don't think that everything we made 2008 to 2012 is super wearable.
Okay.
You know, it makes me happy when friends bring things out of the closet and they're like, I still wear this.
Yeah.
Like, and then that says a lot.
What makes it not wearable to you?
For me personally, some of it is fit. You know, I think that in that time frame, everybody was making a lot slimmer clothes.
But isn't that just like most things cyclical? Isn't that going to find its way at some point?
Maybe, but like at my age, I think I'm settling into a place where I just want to be comfortable. Yeah, I think so. I don't foresee going back towards jeans that I need to struggle to break in anymore, right? But I still want to wear raw denim. So what do? We make a more relaxed cut.
Yep.
And we also keep the slim cut because there are tall, slim guys that come into the shop.
Yeah.
And when they put it on, it's the right cut for them. It looks good.
Yeah.
And it's not as difficult or uncomfortable for them to break in as it would be for me.
Yeah, of course.
So we still make stuff for people who dress different ways and have different sensibilities. But yeah, for me, the one reason why I wouldn't wear something anymore is because I just don't like the way that it fits on me, right? And then, yeah, look, nobody bats 1,000.
You know, if you get that first hit, your first up at bat, you know, but yeah,
exactly. That's it, I'm done.
Yeah, but
I'm
over
done.
21 years, of course not.
No, and I think it's important for us to recognize that. But I think that the through line, the thing that we can continue to lean on is the fact that we still pull inspiration from similar sources. I think what's special is that in year 21, we can execute on those ideas way better than we could, you know, at year 14 or year 15.
Of course. But what are those sources, though? Like when you're pulling inspiration, like what are you looking at? Are you looking at styles, silhouettes from 50 years ago, 20 years ago? Are you I mean, obviously not 20 years ago, because then you're just looking back at what you were doing then. Like how are you considering what a fall 2024 look will feel like versus a spring 25 look?
Yeah, I mean, that's fall winter 24 right there on that rack. We just showed it to retailers. We pre-sold it. We're going in production on it, so I can speak on that because it's very, you know, top of mind. There are a lot of things in there that continue onward because we feel like the idea still has relevance. So I mentioned earlier on the pod that in 2008, one of our first garment styles that we did was a flannel called the crosscut flannel, and it had angled pockets on the front. And
I have that. Everyone.
Right, you do? Yeah,
yes,
you have the gray one, you have the black
one. Black and gray.
Yeah. That one.
Still rock that.
Yeah, it has a crossed back yoke, and that's kind of where the name came from, right?
Got it.
And we still make that shirt today. There are fit changes to it, right?
Okay, of course.
There's some fit changes to it, and the fabric is better, and the trims, the buttons are better.
Okay.
And these are things that we've learned over time to do better.
Got it.
But the spirit of the garment is still there.
Of course.
And so, yeah, at its heart, if you look through the collection, a lot of it is classic workwear details. Again, coming back to the idea of jeans looking better the more that you wear it.
For sure.
The reason that people, I hope, love vintage clothing, whether it be like old military garments or old workwear or old Western wear, is the fact that people were able to use it for a specific purpose, live their life in it. Yeah. And then you look at it and there's like so much spirit and character in this.
It has a history. Yeah.
And so for us, like not only the jeans, but the shirts, like stylistically, it should still look good. But can we use fabrics that are going to look better the more that you use it? And that's like kind of the foundation for where we have to start with.
Tell me some of the fabrics that actually hold that sort of feeling where the more you use it.
So some people don't realize this, but a fabric like linen, if you use a very high quality linen or if you develop a high quality linen from scratch, you know, with the mill, linen doesn't change color the way that jeans do.
Okay. It holds its color?
It does. Yeah, it holds its color better. Okay. The reason that indigo jeans, that blue jeans fade is because indigo molecules they don't bond securely to cotton.
Okay.
it comes from the indigo fera plant.
Yep.
And you turn that into a dye, and then you dip cotton threads into it, and that's what turns it. It starts out yellowish green, and then it oxidizes to blue.
Ah, okay.
And then you get the deep blue by dipping it over and over and over again. So you
Okay.
can do it in very primitive ways, and people still can make an indigo vat in their backyard and dunk and dye things indigo themselves. But then with jeans, they dye the yarns, and
Got
it's
it.
like it's this beautiful thing that we finally went to Japan and we saw it, 8 or 9 years ago.
Okay.
And they measure it with with computers and everything to figure out how to get consistent blue colors.
Yeah.
But other fabrics, when they're yarn dyed, the dyes are synthetic and they can bond to cotton
Better.
or whatever, or linen, in a stronger way.
Got it.
But so linen can fade a little bit over time if you keep wearing and washing it. But the way that the fabric feels, it softens, it settles in. This is fabric here.
Yeah.
It's like threads that are kind of intertwined.
For sure.
And when you wear it, it kind of separates out when you stretch it out, and then when you wash it, it tightens back up again.
Yeah.
And just it's really beautiful to see good linen over time. Canvas, like a really nice canvas twill.
Yeah.
That fades really beautifully. You think about if you go to a vintage shop or a thrift store, or whatever, you see a beat up old pair of Carhartt pants.
For sure.
There's just nothing that you can do to that pant artificially that can make it look like that.
For sure. You're touching into things right now. I'm going to just stop just for a second, because what you're saying, these last two fabrics that you mentioned are two of the fabrics that painters paint on.
Yes.
And they love those two fabrics.
Yeah. And they're also fabrics that I feel like people garden in, and
Yes, of course.
and also do construction work
Yes,
in.
that's
Maybe
right.
not linen, but canvas for sure.
Canvas for sure. Yep.
Yeah, and linen also is highly functional. It is very breathable. People assume that if you've got a long sleeve linen shirt on in the summer, you're going to be sweating, but because it wicks moisture, it breathes really nicely, and so there are all these things that we kind of think about. It has to look a certain way, it has to drape a certain way, but it also needs to function a certain way.
Really quick, I do want to just bring this up. My man was over here talking about how my audience would not want to listen to him talk about clothing. My man's saying wicks moisture. Ain't nothing more than that we in our communities have in common is understanding moisture being wicked.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you're talking about linen wicking moisture. I can talk about terracotta wicking moisture. But yeah, man, I think
Yeah, I mean, you're trying to create environments for plants that allow them to thrive, right?
exactly. You're
And
doing
this is the same thing with clothes, right?
Yes.
You want to feel comfortable, you want to look good, you also want to be able to move around freely and comfortably. So these are all things that we think about when we're designing the garment.
Man, that to me is the unknowns when you look at price point as a customer.
Absolutely. Yes. I really understand that when you look at clothing as a consumer, it's hard to really tell what goes into the pricing.
Yeah.
There are definitely brands that strategically price their garments to project an image. They want to live in a certain world, and they want to, portray themselves in a certain way.
For sure.
So even though it costs them a certain amount to make it, they can't charge less than this amount because they want people to feel like, it's a luxury good or something like that. For us, and I think that this is a good way to know what goes into your garment. I think that for any small brand that you're interested in, look at the way that the brand talks about their product. Do they want to tell you what the fabric is? Do they want to? Do they have stuff on their website or on their social media content? Do they show you where it's made and how it's made?
Yeah.
Do they geek over the details?
There it is.
Right. I think that
There it
that's and I think that these parallels extend into lots of other things that people are interested in. Like, why do you spend money on a really good meal?
Yeah.
Right. There's obviously experience, and there's ambiance, and there's service. There's all of that. But for the food itself, is there thought put into how it's plated? Is there attention paid to the ingredients that are put into it? Right?
For sure.
All those things.
I can tell a quick story about my one I guess once in a lifetime, because it's probably never going to happen again, experience going to the French Laundry. I was dating a person at the time who worked in the food industry, and she was saying that we had to go to the French Laundry for dinner. And she told me what the price was. And I thought that would be one of the dumbest things we should ever do with our money, is to put that much down a person for one night. Because, I mean, obviously when you break it down, so many people can eat blah, blah, blah for X amount of dollars. But for us, that was like a few months, felt like a few months of food, right? And she kept talking about it, and I'm one, if anyone knows me, all about experiences, experience things. And she tapped into that side of me. And I said, okay, you're saying that this is going to be an experience I've never seen before, felt before. Cool. This food, hopefully this food tastes really great, and it's going to be mind-blowing for this much money.
Right.
So we get there, and before I taste the food, I'm seeing the performance. I'm seeing the detail. And my mind is just being blown by the sheer want of having a napkin placed a certain way.
Yeah.
The sheer thought process behind, we're going to plate a particular meal by putting it in this piece of ceramic that only has a little circle carved out. And it's this wide plate, but it only has this little piece carved out. And then that's where this pool of goodness sits. And I go, what is this? Every little piece, every detail, and how the servers work themselves around the table to drop food is a performance.
Yeah.
And I was like, you are paying not just for how great or not so great the food is, or the size of a portion. You're paying for every single moment, because what just landed in front of you, that is the end result. The performance is here, but the performance is also happening in the kitchen.
Yeah.
And before it got to the kitchen.
Yeah.
They're thinking about all these little small details of how this very moment, everything is going to be impacted in that one little bite that's about to hit your mouth. And I thought about it there, and I went, you know what? This makes sense. It made sense for us to pay this. While I won't do it again, I am so, unless something happens where I can do it again, and maybe very cheaply, but I was so thankful I had that moment in my life, because I left there, and this is what I'm talking about. Even again,
You're talking about it now, however many years later.
Exactly. It inspired me to think about every single detail I did in my own work and why that matters.
Yeah.
And that's what I think for you in the brand itself. That's why I appreciate it so much. That's why I wanted to talk to you about this, because I know the stories you tell. I know, when you said geek out about it, that's what I love about what you do, because for me, that's the same thing I do when it comes to talking about plants and when it comes to talking about design. Those small nuances for me are the real moments. You know?
Yeah, and if anybody's watched The Bear, I feel like they were able to bring to light all of the thoughtfulness that comes into fine dining.
For sure.
Right? And it's not just what you eat, but it's how you feel.
Yeah.
And so we've been talking a lot about like what materials we use and the thought that goes into designing a garment, but that's not the whole story, right? We're sitting here in the back of our New York shop that we opened in the fall of 2020, which was a very scary thing to do. We've been operating an LA flagship for 7 years now.
Wow.
And that's been a whole new avenue of service that we were able to step into as a brand. Before that, we would sell to retailers. We still do. And they were the front lines for introducing customers to our product. We also sold online. And there is a lot of customer service that goes into talking to people via email and on the phone and via social media DMs. Yeah. But it is a game changer to be able to serve people in person.
Of course.
Our New York shop manager, Gabe, comes from fine dining.
Wow.
And so he never had experience in retail before. But when Johan and I interviewed him, what we realized was like, he knows how to take care of people.
Yep.
Right. And that's the spirit that we want to bring to people in New York, in LA, when you come into our home,
Yeah.
you need to feel at home.
Love
right.
that.
And so
Love it.
here in downtown New York, anybody who's from New York or has shopped in downtown New York, you go into a cool guy store, you immediately feel like you don't belong.
Yeah.
And you have to play this part to show that, yes, I should be here. And, may I please buy this?
Yes.
Am I interrupting you? And I felt that before. Everybody's felt it before. We never want people to feel that way.
What is that about?
What?
What is that about?
I think there is one particular store that everybody probably knows that is famous for that kind of service.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do think that that was an intentional choice.
Got it.
And I think that once you join an organization like that, you feel pretty good about yourself because now you're on the inside. And like life is all about like trying to get on the inside and looking for the right everything.
Yeah.
And I think that for someone to come in here, and this has happened many times, both at Self Edge, and also here at 3sixteen, when you're coming in, it's intimidating. You're looking at clothes. For a lot of people, this is like more than they've spent on clothes before.
It is.
Right?
Yes, of course.
And you don't know where to begin. You also don't want to look like you don't know anything, even though you might not know anything, right? Yeah. Maybe your friend said, go see them. And we just want to bring them into a place where you don't have to feel that way.
For sure.
And you can disarm that immediately when they walk in. You can do that immediately just by welcoming them with a smile and say, hey, welcome to the shop.
Yeah.
And then you give them a lay of the land. You let them know where things are.
Yep.
You step back and you say, I'm here to help if you need. And you never leave their eyesight.
Yeah.
Right? But you're also not like all up in their business.
Of course.
And then when they engage again and they say like, hey, I have a question about this. Okay, now we can talk.
Yeah.
Right? It's not overbearing, but it's also definitely not aloof. So yeah, it doesn't matter how good our clothes are. If we cannot serve people well and take care of them when they come into our space, like forget it. It doesn't matter.
I mean, I've seen it personally, but I thought that was just friendship. I thought that's how you treated me because I was a friend. But I've also seen your employees do that to others. Mm-hmm. And I just thought, man, that's what the mission is here. It felt that way.
I want people to leave feeling good.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't matter if you buy something. Obviously, if we weren't selling anything, that's a problem.
Of course.
We are selling things and we're doing great. But it's okay if you come in and you don't buy anything as long as you leave feeling better about yourself.
Of course.
Or, learning something new about the brand.
Yeah.
Like there's so much that goes into someone's visit to our store beyond just transactional things.
I love it. All right, I got a few more for you.
Yeah.
The one thing I've always thought about, and I think about this for myself in some moments in life. I try not to be this way, Andrew. I will say this. But I can come off a bit snobbish when it comes to design, like plants and things of that nature. People might think I might be judging them for the types of plants. I'm not.
Are you judging them?
I'm not. I don't.
Are you judging my dying plants in the window?
No, man, I'm not judging them. But I would always.
Before you came, I was like, yo, I gotta hide the plants.
People always say that. That's the one thing people ever say all the time.
Yo, I wish Hilton visited our old office where we had all these huge windows. They were killing it there.
I wish I was there too, but I don't. But I'm not judging. I will always try to give my 2 cents and try to help. But I wonder. Because I always think this too, when I walk into a space like 3sixteen. Are these motherfuckers judging me for what I'm wearing? Are you like a snob sometimes? Do you ever feel that way?
No, because I also understand that it's not everybody's thing. Yeah. I think it's important when someone comes into the shop to understand why they're here.
Yeah.
Some people are here for one purpose, right? They see coming to our shop as like a need that needs to be filled, right? My old jeans fell apart. I need new jeans, right? It's a tool. May I have this tool, right? Yeah. I'll size you in the correct tool and you go. There are people who come in here with unsure of themselves. Mm-hmm. They feel like they want to change something about their outward appearance, and they don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
And the garment itself almost doesn't matter. We will make sure that you go home in something that looks good on you. Mm-hmm. But really, there's a conversation around what makes you feel comfortable, what makes you honestly feel like a better version of yourself.
For sure.
And when someone can leave whether they just bought a pack of T-shirts or they left with, some jeans and a jacket and a shirt and maybe a hat. It is one of the best feelings when they can leave it. They legitimately feel better about themselves. Look, I know people think maybe some people think clothes are shallow or whatever, but I think it communicates something about you.
Of course it does.
Right?
Yeah.
And when you buy clothes that are, I just got to get dressed, you're communicating that it's utility, right? That's what it is. And then other people use it as self-expression. Yeah. Other people use it because they want to dress for the role that they want. So it's assessing where people are at. It's kind of like in your personal life, you understand that not everybody has plants as a high priority, right?
100%.
Right. And you don't go to a dinner party and just start talking to people about plants. You don't.
I can't.
You don't.
Yeah.
What you do is if someone asks you oh, what do you do for a living? You're very careful with what you say.
For sure.
Right? You give them a little bit. And then if there's any interest, okay, I can talk some more.
For sure.
It's just assessing, and this is all interaction. This is all relationships.
Yeah.
And in my personal life, I have lots of close friends who don't really care about what we do. They care about me.
Of course.
They like that I like it.
Of course.
Right? But it's not not high on their list.
Yeah, it's not the thing.
Do I look at them differently? Of course not.
Yeah. But do you judge what they're wearing?
No.
No.
I mean, if they came to me, they're like, I want to dress differently. Where should I go for XYZ? Yeah, I'll give you a couple things.
Of course.
But
you've done that for me a lot. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know. For either of us, you just kind of meet people where they're at.
Of course.
I think that's really what it is.
Yeah, exactly.
Your interest level, I'll match your interest level.
Perfect. Do you wear anything other than 316?
Of course. Yeah, I'm wearing non 316 right now. We don't make sneakers. I got some. I got some Kayana 14s on.
Okay.
Kayana boys.
Hey. They just showing off.
This is by our mutual good friend, Excel.
All-time high, baby.
High. I love this hoodie. The good hoodie.
It's a great hoodie.
Yeah.
It makes the best.
This is us. This is us, and this is us.
This is you too.
This is us. This was us.
This was you. Yeah. Well, yeah, this was you. I still see it as you.
Yeah, I mean, I have to wear things that we don't make, and I do wear things and buy things and wear things that I love, that I think people have put passion into.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to support too.
You have to support. You have to support. I think sitting here today with you, getting to get a better sense of the brand, but also hearing you, again, passionately talk about the brand and why you do what you do. It has just been a pleasure for me, for one. I do want to say that.
Thanks, man.
I love it.
Thanks, man.
I only have one more question for you, because I love the fact that you and Johan have made a 21-year relationship, bi-coastal relationship work. Very impressive. There's a lot of Japanese denim still in your collection. Oh, yeah.
I mean, despite the fact that we make a pretty big seasonal collection, like jeans are still the backbone of what we do.
For sure.
We still can't keep up.
Yeah.
We're still making and selling jeans every day of the week.
Can't keep up. Would you ever open a new shop somewhere?
Open to it for sure. Yeah. I mean, again, our investment into in-person retail doesn't always make sense for a lot of, to a lot of these companies that see the efficient way to run or to start a business or to grow a business is just to pump money into online ads and just try and get in front of people. Who goes to stores anymore? Everybody's just shopping here, right? But for the reasons that I told you, I think it's really, really important to be able to interact with people in person.
For sure.
And maybe they go home, right? Maybe they were visiting New York and then they go home and they're able to, to continue to buy online, but they remember the experience they had in person. They also know that if they pick up the phone and call the shop, they might talk to the person that helped them.
Yeah.
And so there's just a connection that's been built. So I think that it is a lot of work for sure to open up more shops, but we, you know,
You'd be open for it. Open up. You would open. You'd be open to it.
I think that it's so important to be able to serve people in person. I feel very, very strongly, but I know Johan does too, and we get a lot out of it.
I love that.
So
you've been here for 21. Do you see yourself being here for another?
I would love to. I think Johan and I are dream, and like, because this is now somewhat within reach. If any of our kids are interested, right? Man. I don't think we could have said that 5-6 years ago, but my kids are getting older now. I've got a 12-year-old and an 11-year-old.
I mean, they're close to the
they're
age
not that
you guys
far.
Started this.
They're
right?
not that right. They're not that. They're not that far off, and so that dream is becoming a little bit more real. You know, with every passing year, we're getting a little closer to it. And I've already told my younger son, who is the John's enthusiast of the two. You know, when you're older, you can come work for a summer. You know, you can come and it not be forced to, like many of us may have had to, with our parents or whatever. But like, you can be here because you want to, and you're still gonna have to clean the bathroom, but you can also do a lot of other cool things too, and meet people and experience what we get to experience. So
that was probably never a dream of yours before this.
No,
is it a dream of yours now?
For them to
have your kid working with you. Like
yes. Absolutely. Yeah, I think so. And it's okay if they don't. I want to make sure that they have the freedom to go their own pathway, to find what they love, because I have the rare opportunity to do something that I love for a living. And I would never want to take that away from them. Yeah. Also, this company is like built off passion. And I think that if someone's forced to be here, that you could tell. Yep. Everybody here at the brand right now loves being here, and I'm so grateful for that. And I hope that people get that when they come in, or when they buy something online, or when they email info and ask a question. Like any of those avenues that you're connecting with us, I hope that you get that. Yeah, and that's important to us. I don't want that to ever feel differently.
All right, last question.
Where are we eating? Where are we going to eat?
Where are we going to eat after this? That, and also, if you're going to be here in 21 more years, 20 years down the road, what's next? How do we get there?
How do we get there? Make more jeans.
Of course. Stay consistent?
Yeah, I think stay consistent is really what got us here. We haven't had any crazy pops in business across the history of our company. Yeah. It's been slow, incremental growth. There was a dip in 2020. I'm pretty sure a lot of people did.
I would say everyone, yeah.
But because of that slow, steady growth, we've never had to weather the storm that comes after a crazy bump goes away. No. And I don't know if that's something that people really think about, because when you have a small company, you're like, man, I really hope so-and-so celebrity uses it or endorses it or whatever. Yeah. But what comes with that is heightened attention and crazy sales, and then now you have to ramp up to keep up.
For sure.
We like kind of moving under the radar, being consistent, being around, so that if you love what you bought from us 5 years ago, come back. Yeah. We may not make that exact same thing, but we make something that's similar to it. And if it's jeans, we probably make it still. Yeah, for sure. We're here for you. And like, I think that's just the pathway forward. I think that if we're blessed to be around another 20 years, I would hope that there would be more retail presence, for sure. But there's no goal in that end. Like, I don't want one in every major city or whatever. I want to be able to do what we do well. And that means that growth comes slowly. And if everybody on our team can be well taken care of, and can get older with the company, I think about that a lot. I want them to be able to move into new life stages and to be able to still be here and love what they do and love the people that they're around. That's part of the benefit of not being owned by some finance, sure. Whatever that's like asking you to hit certain growth numbers, every quarter, and forces you to make decisions that you don't want to make.
For sure.
We can move at our pace. We can try to maintain integrity. We can say no to things. You know, we were talking off mic before about like how not every opportunity or every collaboration or partnership is a good one.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
There might be a bag, but how does this affect, you know, where we want to take things in the future?
Exactly.
How does that affect how people look at us? We did a project, a collaboration with Herman Miller many years ago.
Oh, what?
It's that Eames lounge chair
Oh.
in the natural veg tan. They invited us out to Zeeland, Michigan to see it getting put together and everything. And Adam called the guy that we worked with. They were celebrating a major milestone. They've been around a lot longer than we have. They are an American icon.
Yeah.
And we asked him something similar. We were like, how did you get here? He said, by saying no a lot. And I love that. I love
saying yes too much.
Yeah.
Say no a lot.
I think I don't think you should say no for the sake of saying no.
Yeah.
But there should be more no's than yeses.
Of course.
Right?
Yeah.
And to be strategic and to think about the long term, and that's served us well. I hope that it'll continue to serve us well. I hope that we can continue to serve other people.
Yes.
Well, you know?
Yes. That's gonna be important. Andrew, thank you so much, buddy.
Thank you.
I really appreciate it, man.
Yeah, you know, like when you talk about consistency, like the fact that we've been friends for all this time, like is really special.
Yes, it is.
You know, I think that the fact that you're wearing a really old T-shirt of ours tells people how long we've been down for.
Hey, man, I won't let it go. You know,
the T-shirt or the friendship?
Both. I won't let them go. Won't let them go. Everyone, you've had the pleasure of listening to one of the best people I know out there, but Andrew and Johan are just really creatives who put true heart in their brand and the products they are putting out in the world. And you heard it here today. So please support them. Where can they find you?
The brand is 3sixteen, and it's spelled with the number 3 and then the word 16 spelled out. 3sixteen.com. Find us on TikTok. We have a fun TikTok.
Hey, what's your TikTok?
It's 316.
316. Okay.
And yeah, we use it as an educational platform to talk about, you know, how our stuff is made, how to take care of it.
That's great.
It's not unlike what you do, honestly.
It's not.
It's really not.
You were the one fighting me earlier about this, man. I was trying to tell you this is a seamless connection right here. Everyone's going to be like, perfect. Some people are going to be like, oh my God, I can't believe you had Andrew from 3sixteen on the podcast. But
no, I appreciate the opportunity.
I appreciate
you for having the vision.
Hey, man, I got night vision. Got better vision, got these glasses. But everyone, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you, I think you have to hit the follow when it comes to podcasts. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting.
Thank you all for listening.
Thank you all for listening. Hope you have a wonderful one.
Love you, brother.
Soon. Love you too, baby. Balancing work and life can be really stressful, and finding ways to work through the stress is always a goal of mine. Of course, the process of nurturing plants helps me to slow down, take a breath, and bring in joy. But unfortunately, my plants aren't licensed therapists with expert advice. Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or you're just a human who lives in this world who is going through a hard time, therapy can give you the tools to approach your life in a very different way. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link in my description. It's betterhelp.com/Hilton. Clicking this link helps to support this channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. Starting this podcast was supposed to be a little extra therapy for me,
getting the ideas in my head out. Good to know I can always use BetterHelp just in case Molly can't help me. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/Hilton. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this channel.